tonight. I slept through the natural light, but I'll do it if it feels alright. Alright, alright.
Hello and welcome to the Central Coast Poetry Shows, and I'm your host, Jim Russo. Now, my reason for producing this show is this. For about 10 years, I've been reading and attending poetry readings all over California's Central Coast, and I've had the privilege of hearing and seeing some very talented poets read their own words. This show is to be a platform for those poets to be seen and heard by you. Now, tonight's first guest, is Dan Brady. So I'll introduce you to Dan. Dan was born in New York in 1952. When his father died in 1960, his mother decided to return to California. She managed to raise 7 children and do well despite trying circumstances. Dan was the first of his family to complete a college education, graduating from San Francisco State in 1975 with a degree in sociology. In the 80s, he went back, obtained a teaching credential, and began teaching in 87. And writing was put aside. After he married in 89, the muse returned and he began writing science fiction, a long-time fascination, as well as haiku. During that time, he also made a return to performing poetry in San Francisco's open mic series, most notably at the Sacred Grounds Cafe, where Don is now the current curator. Dan's poetry has been published in magazines, and he has presented a number of featured readings in the Bay Area. Although at first his readings consisted mostly of haiku, by the late 90s there was a rekindled interest in lyric poetry, and most recently he has published 3 collections of poetry, completed 2 science fiction manuscripts for young adults, and is revising several children's book manuscripts. So he's a busy guy. So I'd like to introduce you to Dan Brady.
Hi,
Thank you for showing up, Dan.
Well, I'm good.
Good.
Yeah, I just like to point, emphasize Sacred Grounds. I've been hosting there for 7 years. The person before me hosted it for like 22, 25 years, and I became the host after she passed away. Yeah. But it's every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. is the sign up, Hayes and Cole, and the show goes on. And we do live streaming, and we have a wide variety of people now. I'm really glad that we get old, young, this, that, the other, whatever demographic. It's really it's a sweet spot, I think.
Oh, it's a great group. I've been there.
Yeah,
it's a fun group.
Yeah. We get our laughs.
Yeah, you do.
Sometimes the tears when we talk about certain things, but never mind that.
So I want to reiterate to everyone in the Bay Area, it's on the corner of Hayes and Cole in San Francisco.
Yeah.
The Sacred Grounds Cafe. And you can eat there too.
Oh yeah, they have food there, wine, beer, food, sandwiches, salads, things like that. Yeah. Cafe style.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's our plug for Sacred Grounds.
That is. I'm glad to get that.
But my reason is I want everyone to find it.
Yeah.
Now I think you'd like to talk about your poetry and your favorite poem, actually.
Yeah. Well, when you asked about that, I thought, which one? The one that I chose has several things that are important about it. One is that it's both found and inspired. There's a difference, like somehow you find something or you get a prompt or a poetry thing at a workshop. This was found, something like a prompt, but it was also natural. The other thing about it is that it's lyric, and that's really nice. That's a style that I don't always write that way, but this is in that category. And then the subject matter is wide-ranging and large scale. So it's intimate, personal, large scale, found, all these different things come together in this one. So in one poem, it has several aspects of things that I like.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So what's the title of it?
It's Angels.
Angels.
That's the original title, which almost doesn't fit anymore, but I'm not going to change it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Continuity. Okay. Well, what I'd like you to do, Dan, is step to the podium, read that poem first, and then give us whatever else you have.
All right. Sounds
so,
good.
ladies and gentlemen, Dan Brady.
So I'll begin by way of introducing myself. At one point I was asked who influenced me, and in the course of writing my response to this poem came out of that. So How and when does a story begin? How are we to know? When I think on it, any tale, no matter its size, must begin long ago. So when asked who influenced me, I gave my friend an analogy. Consider a stream, I said, even a small one near to hand. Is not its course ever guided by the contours of the land? Is it not deflected by every rock, bit of soil, or living thing with which it coexists before or after the stony lip of its spring? And are not all these things but a postscript, proceeding from a source which charges the nature of the stream and so affects its discourse? Nor should I fail to say that forests and men alike surely do amend it, for its worth is clear to those temporal beings who can apprehend it. But the fishes and all the living things cannot be the stream, nor, for that matter, can it be the water, or so it would seem, for the flow is ever carried off, even as we watch for sport, whether by evaporation or gravity's simple transport. It's surely not its path, or the things it has carried off. It could not be its remains, a shallow, drying trough. A stream, then, is a time and place dependent on conditions which, if the truth be told, have the utmost antiquity as its origins. Preconditions which, if they be scientifically analyzed withal, stretch back into the beginnings of time and matter immemorial. And perforce, do they not, I waxed, extend too onward in time, until the very edge of doom itself. Imagine a stream so sublime. And so full circle I came as my analogy found its end. What are the credits I must roll to answer, my friend? No less than everyone who has ever been or may yet be. Nothing less than that full chorus, say I, have clearly influenced me. And then, from the serious to the ridiculous, poets always have a chance to write no matter where they are. And this, my infamous Ode to P, was written in situ, as they call it. Anyway, Ode to P. Bless this water that has passed through me. Bless this water on its way to the wine-dark sea. May this water catch a moonbeam's glint just so to shimmer in the eyes of a beauty's ardent face aglow. Bless it and all the waters with which it flows and blends. Bless that and all the air in which its mingling vapor ascends. By this means, bless the seven winds which carry it away over the seven seas to mountains, farmlands, every hill and dale, and into coastal fogs where it precipitates from trees. Nor forget sunset, where its gleaming prism catches the sovereign's blazing rainbow hues, or, in the moon's silvery light, plays it at the limb of our pellicle of atmosphere to cast an eerie halo of high, austere, icy delight. Bless this water that once was I, that once was a part of my heart, mind, and eye. Bless this water from the one cup we share. Bless the passing of excess to spare. Yes, blessings pour each drop from the sky to clothe the world in the greenery we espy. Forever a river flows through us within. Thus do I offer unto thee this overwrought yet singular ode to P. The political contents of that are, implied, as they say. Thank you. My mother thanks you. My brother's second cousin's best friend's neighbor's second grade teacher's uncle thanks you. So, in a more serious vein, this is like 40 or 50 years old. Death and Ode. This cold kiss, most desirous and dizzy. The finished flesh lay still and gray. Falls off the bone, the skeleton a trophy of scars. Its mask, dark sockets stare, its wide smile with jaws grinning locked. So, we enter a political realm here, I'm sorry to say. No title for this one. What questions? Why are they killed? It's a simple question, really, and today, at this tiny moment, I direct it to the Saudi government, but as you'll soon realize, there are others holding on to the short end of this stick. I asked the men there, why is it okay to kill their own mothers, sisters, daughters, or lovers for phoning, texting, driving, enjoying the sun on their face, talking with their friends, for dreaming of a life made from their preferences, their choices? What does having a sense of humor, laughing beautifully, or wanting the simple things in life, liberty and the pursuit of happiness, have to do with brutal assaults and murderous battery, rape, slavery, or an acid slap face? What is it about family honor? Why, when we hear of their moaning or mournful imprecations, do we not call their men out? How is it we recuse ourselves and do not ride to the rescue? Is it because of the hijab? Where are the white hats? Yes, all they want are simple things, freedom of the mind, justice for the soul, and unlimited peace in their feeling, emotional hearts. When will we reach out our hands? When will we answer our own big heart's unending call for love? Inquiring minds want to know. In supplication, I proffer these considerations, these notes, to everyone I know. Amen. And this is for those people who are searching. You say you are searching, that you cannot find it. You say you are lost. Listen, grasshopper, love is not a battleground where the bleeding losers are left strewn about to beckon for death's welcoming rap, longing for a final gentle word or touch from God. And I do not serve the angels. They have just about everything they need by now. As for you, aching in mind, body, or soul, who have acquired that taste for love, the thirst that seemingly draws one out of one's mind, I'll tell you what. You can find it simply enough. Go give nourishment to all tender beings. Feed every wide mouth. Quench all thirst for love. And love as you would be loved, right where you are. Let your happiness wander no more, no matter where you go, and so be requited. Let your beautiful lips and supple, passionate flesh open sweetly to all the love you can imagine. Yield to its want and disseminate all those vital gifts you have upon this magnificent world of ours. And a few haiku here just to close out. True story. Well, a cigarette smashed out in the guacamole the morning after. And for those sports fans out there, 29, 13, 57, 78, haiku. And from an old-time child's memory, water strider, a kick ripples the moon. Oh, from Corvallis, Oregon. Rows of corn stubble. The murder of crows turns to circle me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dan Brady, ladies and gentlemen. Steve Arnston is 74 years old and says he's feeling surprisingly energetic. He came to writing gradually after studying piano for many years at the University of Washington after high school, taking music courses. He moved to California from Seattle in 1964 and stayed teaching piano and further studies. Little by little, he started developing an interest in writing and began going to poetry readings to see what others were doing. He found himself at the Cafe Babar series in San Francisco during the 80s. While Steve was employed at Sonoma State College from 68 to 72, there was a group that read Shakespeare regularly, and this really sparked his interest in language. He owes much to friends over the years for encouragement and has just published To and From on the Day to Night Coast, which concerns a journey to Oregon. He has been very active at Burning Man since 1996 and will be putting a book out this year about the 2016 event. Burning Man has been a wellspring for writing for Steve. And without further ado, welcome Steve Arnston.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
I feel very welcome.
So, let's see, what would you like to talk about today?
I'd like to talk about, I write about basically two things these days. It's either the Oregon coast and a little bit of Washington and a little bit of the California coast, or it's Burning Man. I had to narrow it down, narrow the writing down in some way.
Oh, okay. So, that's...
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, just Burning Man is great for writing. There's so many situations out there that's terrific. It's in the middle of the biggest party in the world. I mean, I'm still not drinking or using any drugs, but having a great time.
Well, good for you. There must be something to see sober.
It is to take what you like and leave the rest event.
Yeah.
Half of it sucks and half of it's absolutely amazing.
How big is the area?
Oh,
it's hard to tell from the maps and the photos that you see.
It's I don't know, square mileage. It's rather large.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, I hear now there's a group that bring their own motorhomes and cooks and
it's
entourage.
Changing a little bit.
Yeah, there's the elite section there.
The elite section who have servants dress them.
From what it's amazing. Only in America.
We'll make room for you over there, Jim.
But at any rate, what else would you like to speak about?
Just those two things. The other area I like to write about is the coast. I've always been absolutely fascinated by that strip of land there, where the land meets the sea. Oregon, Washington, it just has a complete spell on me. I've been writing about it for a while now, and so geographics. You'll go and you'll find something about one of the places along there, and then write about it. And a little philosophy can come in. It's not just a travelogue. We can do all sorts of things with it.
All the redwoods down to the sea.
Redwoods down to the sea. Sure.
Beautiful, beautiful country. Yeah, I spent time up there. Lived in Washington actually for a while. Well, what I'd like you to do is I should ask you what your favorite poem is.
Well, right now it's
one.
Yeah, I do. It is The Abandoned School, and it is a Burning Man poem from 1997. In the town of Wadsworth, Nevada, on the way to Burning Man, we saw a school that was all boarded up, and we wondered why. And I just, it was on a reservation, Indian reservation. We just wondered why, and it got me thinking. So right now it's my current favorite.
Cool. Well, Steve, I'm going to ask you to step to the podium and read that poem first,
I will.
and then give us whatever else you have. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Steve Arnston.
The Abandoned School. There's an abandoned school, tan on School Street, two-storied, and someone must know the reason why. Your own private guesswork will do, though, and cares more for the scene, cares more for the syllables that the word dilapidated sounds, so that you linger, bonding with the ruin. We are sure the explanation is just a school bulletin away, the slightest idea of the generous mystery. There are no silly questions concerning it. And when I see you walking there, I have to believe that traveling together is the first step to living together. And traveling here is living here for as long as one day, hour, or minute of attendance. The school is academy and administered learning. We can talk all night about what was taught all day. We'll be transfer students arriving with passport report cards. Grades incomplete. Like the school that stands upon the tan schoolyard, its own book bags slung. We could have gone back to sleep, but we would have missed the assembly, the classroom's early social security, its recess on School Street. Thank you. This is Getting Jazzed for a Journey. Really getting jazzed for a journey out of and into when the very date and time of year awaits your passing through. Animal of time and remembrance in the religious times of the day and night, do you bemurmur Kansas and the humid plains, out of the wind and safe in a drugstore, father and mother to all fathers and mothers before. Proceeding to Topeka to camp out in the grain elevators, like waking up all morning the kid you've now become, with another way of talking. You've never had so much at once. It's a cracked open, can you imagine that? More of a state than something explained, or the insanity others have taken for granted. More of a place than a two-bit direction that angles through donkey well derricks, flustered with in and out. Place unlike Sedona, Arizona, or no one in a pink truck megaphone proclaims a butte to be a metaphor or a kitchen to be a vortex alive with a cook and no cookbook. Gobbling oranges squeezed all to death in a remembered morning manner. And underneath language squeezed from the summers of Sumer. They get what I'm getting more than I get. The only safety is repeat everything. I've said this before. It's like a train you jump on. And rushing forward in the dark, it is easy to die without appreciation of dying. Sandman, unemployed and no longer required, who joins a dirty dozen or so muses getting laundered money and workman's comp. That's the way it is in the mountains and the plains. It's right and it's wrong all along. A terror from the cellar with the passion of a rock hound, catching sight of old stone houses of the Sierra Madre and dawdling way past the final gun of just a game of finding out. Comes preposition-itis of and from and to and into. Comes similes and conjunctions of like and likened to and just as. Bonanza minus hoss, and that's sad. As a parking lot of jobless, cold in Colorado, getting jazzed for a journey out of and into, when the very date and time of year awaits your passing through, animal of time and remembrance, in the zoo of Emerald City, closer and more beautiful than ever. And once the poppies are behind you and the lion's back up on his two hind legs, you want to break out the licorice long before you get there, out of breath at a Vishnu temple with a bell out of order, please knock sign. Bright angel fan out of the wizard's anterooms, green in the sun, as though a city could be washed and waxed like a Mercedes. The many munchkin hands busy with squeegees. Dorothy all the while growing up into an Amazon, married before she clicks her heels together and says, "There's no place like Hollywood. There's no place like Hollywood." Get used to it. The scarecrow wants a light and has been playing with matches again. The Tin Man's addicted to oil. And Ricky Dink's due on Oz Flight 1914, though Glenda's controllers have walked off the job into her castle like an obelisk, and we may have to move that way ourselves soon to be safe enough from runways and towers. I read in the Journal of the Wicked Witch of the East, in the final moments before the house slammed down, and she may have had it coming and no rehabilitation would have sufficed. Still, I wish they kept her in a castle keep somewhere where she could have been bad on her own time until needed, because good without evil doesn't back to Kansas go. And Dorothy's daughter has just been nabbed by a brand new tornado. All right. This is called Bone Tower from Burning Man 1997. Finally seeing the bone tower that was made, finally going close for hands on, hands extended, order in the apprehension. Close up, the mingling bones that made an arch of themselves, pendant daisy chain of rib cages, planned and placed, executed quite white slivers from the open range, interlocking for Gothic elevation, for height above the barren pasture. And what could not get along alone in life has gotten together now for herd skeletal communing. We are enjoying chai while we inspect the pile, for we the living think we understand death and bones and this herd of miscreant cattle, being interspecies empathic. It's amazing the bones do not tumble in protest being stared at this way. It is as if they grazed all those years for this scrutiny and fascination and are being aghast at the sight of their stake-subtracted selves. I went to sleep counting the ribs, and for a while there was security in knowing all the pieces were in place, the hard tissues, obvious vertebrate preserve of calcium and phosphate, the closest to robots that living beings ever got, approaching metal hard, the structure spiky with all those muscle anchors. Can you say osteocytes? Would you believe they are embedded in a matrix made of collagen fiber? All the bone types represented and reproduced. The long, the short, the flat, the narrow, the curved, the straight. And they are weather bleached in their concentric shells, some enclosing cavities where the marrow once lived in hiding. Oh, what a transformation has nature wrought. While the vitamin D sky poured its sunshine down, good Lord, and milk, how many tons whose shorthand expression is written among these interactive skeletons? More chai, more milk to strengthen bones still viable, still in dutiful locomotion, acrobating, kicking cans, or simply lifting a styrofoam cup. There has never been a better time for bone appreciation than right now. Never mind the Dinosaurs Badland Museum, where the sores may be seen. What lay scattered locally is a symbol for a super creature of cows, bulls, deer, coyote, and more. Oh, Phantasmagoria, your home on the range rehearsal space being thus installed as art installation. And if ghosts bide these bones in death, what a menagerie of animal spirits must entwine the memorial as phantom aura, hovering about the wreckage, the mishmashed and messy aftermath of a bull in a bone china shop, for whom remote viewing was simply not enough. I am spelling osteophantasia beforehand, before an altar to osteo this and osteo that. Letter by letter, praying to fight and feel better and be happy again, letter by letter, pronouncing the names of the creatures, pet names included, noting what they were like, what happened, and what they're like now. Where the letters AA will now stand for animal acceptance, for think, think, think. This too will pass, and first things first. Well, we brought our own bones to the bones as tourist bodies enhanced with a camera's glass. And it is as if we have X-ray vision, what with the sight of all these bones, like a giant necklace for a race of giants whose tribal vision says there will be more bones by and by the minute, more naked than skin could conceive of in 1,000 midnight orgies that must cease with the sunshine. And when the flesh can serve no longer, this tower will be sequel party and dance macabre, caught, captured, conglomerate, comprising shuffle, two-step, foxtrot, and marathon. And the drunken mammoth says, it's all right, ossifer, it's okay, I can drive with my tusks the sample herd. It's okay. They've passed the animal autopsy and gone on to a puzzle of antlers engaged in the question, what was ever cartilaginous?
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Arnston. Now I'd like to read one of my poems, and it's titled, My Tub. A big damn polar bear is getting into my tub. Hey man, I don't crowd your ice cube. It's gone. That's fucked. Get out of my tub. This is titled Bad News. An actor friend in Monterey told me about the audition. The writer-director, Etha Gray, said as soon as she saw me walking up the sidewalk, I was exactly what she wanted. I would be the Italian gangster drug supplier. Except for one white kid, the other dozen actors and actresses were all African American, from 16 to 60. The play, House Built Upon Sand, was about the damage illegal drugs do to a community and young lives. KSBW-TV came by our rehearsal that afternoon and shot a promo for our opening night that was to air that night on 6 o'clock news. Our whole cast crowded into a tiny room with a tiny TV, and we waited to watch our promo. The lead story that night was the acquittal of the cops that beat Rodney King, the cops that started the Los Angeles riots. 6 days of looting, arson, vandalism, 53 people killed, over 2,000 injured, over 11,000 arrests. To stop the riots, it took the National Guard, the Marines, the 7th Infantry, federal agents, and the LAPD. Then I realized I was the only one in the room shocked and angry. It was at that moment that I felt their weight, an ancestry of injustice. Injustice known only to those born into it. My name's Jim Russo. Thank you for watching the show, and good night.
I'm beating up the street tonight. I slept through the natural light, but I'll do